Okay, Eric, what is our Trek trivia?
We should really start keeping track of which questions I've already asked so that we don't
Yeah,
duplicate.
you will need to
I'll put a little,
remember that at some point.
checkbox next to them. All right. How did Spock discover proof of computer tampering in the episode Court Martial? A. He found irregular sensor readings. That's the most vague thing in the B. He beat the computer at chess repeatedly. C. He used a white sound masking device. Or D. He reconstructed the memory banks. I'm out.
I have no strategies.
Car.
Welcome to a piece of the action. I'm Micah.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Greg.
And we are continuing our series of reviewing some of the most rated games on BoardGameGeek.com. We are today going to be taking a look at a fairly new game, I think probably, right, compared to most of the ones that we've spoken of. I don't know if this is going to be the newest of the games on the list, but the game we're talking about today is Codenames. Came out in 2015 by Vlada Hratil, something like that. Right?
Something like that.
You're probably pronouncing it differently than everybody else who's ever pronounced it on YouTube, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think the vowels are correct, maybe.
Right. So, okay. So, but yeah, it came out in 2015. And Eric, maybe you could tell us what Codenames is about.
Codenames is a party game, and I think it's our first official party game that we've reviewed. Which is
second to Agricola, I think.
Yeah, Agricola.
That's the first party game.
Agricola's a party game for German engineers. Codenames, however, is a party game for the rest of us dumb Americans. And I thought about this for a little while, like talking about what a party game is versus a non-party game, and it's a fuzzy category, but basically I think it just comes down to light rules, three things: light rules, an emphasis on fun, and can be played with a lot of people. So I think that's kind of the rough definition of what a party game is. And so Codenames is team versus team, where each team is split into two, and it's a word game where one team, remember, each team has one person who's giving the clue, and then other people who are trying to guess the clue. And it is all focused on a grid of words, basically, that you are trying to get your team to guess. Kind of like Password. The cool thing about it, the trick to it is that you can only ever use one word clues, and you are in a race with the other team. So whoever can guess all of their words first without guessing the assassin word then wins. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. And there is, it's called Codenames, right? Because it is dressed up in a super thin veneer of theme, right? Which is that, I think, well, one of you guys want to elaborate on it, what it is you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, the theme is spy versus spy kind of thing. It could. I know that we've done this 2 or 3 times now, where we've found a new low bar for theme in games, but I think this is it. I think Codenames, it doesn't have. It could be anything, and honestly, there's problems with the implementation of the theme as it is. Like it doesn't exactly work as what it's trying to do. Even
doesn't the box say? Oh no, it says top secret. I thought the box said like spy game, but no, it says top secret. But the box makes it look like James Bond style spies on the cover.
You didn't feel like James Bond when you were playing?
Not so much, no.
Not so much. Okay.
But yeah, the idea is that they're the spy masters are trying to make contact, are trying to get their agents in the field to make contact with informants and those informants have secret names. And so you're trying to send your agents in the field information that can't get, basically coded information that will tip them off as to who they're supposed to contact in the field. That's the theme.
Yeah, and I think one key maybe rule that I want to bring up for the 3 people out there that haven't played Codenames yet, it's like I think the twist in this game is that you are trying to find one word that is associated with multiple words. So like maybe it's bottle and diaper, which would be like the most obvious clues in the world, and you can go baby too, which means I want you to guess these 2 words with this one word. And you can go as large as you want. You could go like 3 or 4 if you're like really got a good word, without also tying in clues that are the other team's clues, or like Eric mentioned, the assassin's clue, which if anyone ever picks that clue, the game immediately ends. So I think that's the real allure of the game there. That's one of the big rules, is that tying together of words with one word.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So,
like I said, it's a race. It's a race. You're trying to get all your words done before the other team gets their words guessed, and so you want to be as efficient as possible in your clue giving.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's basically sort of like a variation on a password, like a word guessing type game, with some extra rules that kind of have to make you have to rack your brain a little bit harder to find that exact Venn diagram intersection of, the one word you can say that will intersect precisely the words you want them to guess without intersecting any of the bad words that will cause problems if they guess them accidentally, right? So,
Yeah.
End of the day, it's a word game.
Yeah,
that's
right. And there is no board, right? It's just you lay the cards out, and it's not even
a card game.
It's a
grid of cards. Yep.
Right. Okay. Well, what is it? So, I mean, we mentioned the theme is very lightly applied. What does it feel like? Maybe you guys would like to speak for a minute about what it feels like to actually play the game. Do you enjoy it? Do you have fun? Or what is the feeling that you have as you're playing it? Maybe Greg, you want to start?
Yeah, I think it's, for a party game, surprisingly tense. Because the spy master, there could be quite a bit of AP on the spy master side. I'll say that, because you're trying to find that perfect clue, and I think the spy master has quite a bit of stress on you for that reason. But there's always that moment, like where because what I think one of the genius marks of this game is when the teammates choose a clue, they can discuss all they want, right? What do you think it's this word? Do you think it's this word? But it's not like in stone until someone actually touches the card, which is actually pretty cool, because there's that tension there of like, this could be the other team's card and we're just giving them a point. It could be the assassin card and we just all just die. And sometimes when you're the spy master and you give out a couple of these clues, and then they start talking, you hear them talking, and you hear them like veering towards other words that you didn't intend. Like, oh, I guess that does connect in that way. So to me, there's always that interesting tension of hearing other people talk out ways that they use words in ways that you didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they start talking in a way that's like, oh, I guess that is obvious, but I wasn't thinking about that at the time. So that's on the spy master side. That's the feeling I get. And the teammate side, there's that whole puzzly aspect, I guess, of trying to work out what the spy master is trying to give you. So that's the basic feel I get, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Eric?
Yeah. Going off of what Greg said, I did want to mention that there's an interesting thing that happens with this game where it feels differently depending on which side you're on. And so if you're the spy master, you've got there's a different kind of set of problems that you need to overcome than your agents in the field, and that's kind of cool. And it is a fun game. It makes you really have to sit and think, like, how are they going to take this?
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to? And I do know what Greg's talking about, where like you say something and then you realize that they've gone a completely wrong tack, and you never considered that this one word could fit with something that you said.
You say something like Paris 3, and they go, Paris has a blue sky. Maybe he meant blue. And that's like the assassin word. Like, what in the world? Why would you think
like Tom
blue?
Paris on Voyager? Got it.
Tom Paris on Voyager, which means pilot, which means like they do these contortions sometimes.
Right.
Which is fun. It's fun to watch that happen, even though it's frustrating. And one thing is that you, as the spy master, you only get one word. You can't make any facial expressions. You can't clarify. You get to give them your one-word clue, and then you're supposed to be just a stone wall. You're not supposed to make noises or anything like that.
But in your head, that's happening constantly.
Right.
So I have some. If we're talking about how to play the game, like.
Yeah, sure. Let's get into.
I daren't say strategically. In a game like
what
this.
is the?
That's right. I know.
Yeah. What are the tactics that you?
Yeah. Well, here they are, Micah.
Okay.
Here's how you win at Codenames. I have two things. The first thing is just have fun. So this is not like the way you win Codenames is you have a good time. It's a party game. That's the point. Thus what I said before. Like party games primarily are about having fun, not necessarily about deep strategy, not even necessarily about winning the game. But if you do want to win Codenames, I do have some suggestions. I think that number one, go with easy words first. So you're going to have a number of words that you're trying to get your team to guess. Don't go with the hard ones. Go with the ones that make simple, easy connections, and shoot for a word that can connect with two. Don't go for anything higher than that. Just sustain a pace of getting your people to guess two words at a time. Only go for threes if you're really pressed, because then after that, the board is going to be thinner. There's going to be less options on the table, and you can then get your team to. It'll be easier for them to guess harder connections, harder words, once the board is thinner. And then as spies, don't be afraid to stop if you're not sure, because you don't ever have to guess the maximum number of words that you're given. And so don't be afraid to stop. And then if you do, don't forget that you get your +1 if you've successfully guessed all of your correct words. Because let's say I give a clue that has 2 words to it, and my agents, they only guess 1. They should be, as the agents should be remembering that for the future, because they get a +1. And of course, this isn't a tutorial on how to play the game. Anybody who's watching this knows how to play already. Don't forget your +1 guesses, because that's gonna. I've lost before because of that, because people have forgotten. Me as the spy master, I've given a clue, hoping that they will remember that there was a word that they didn't get last time, and my agents forgot that they get that +1 and lost the game. So those are my deep Codename strategies.
Okay. Greg, what about you? Is there anything, do you do anything other than just have fun? Any type of strategic principle you approach Codenames with as you're playing on either side?
I have no strategies for Codename. I mean, there are some little clever things you can do in the middle of the game, like Eric was alluding to. It is kind of neat in the game how, if they don't get all the clues, the spies, then they can just remember that clue still exists, right? And then in the future, you can start putting in other clues that start dovetailing with clues you gave before they missed, right? And I think, good, clever spies are going to pick up on that. Like, okay, well, we're still looking for 2 for this word, and now he's saying this word, and then like Eric says, after you get all the clues that do relate to the word you said, you get that extra clue at the end. You can even do stuff like, I think you can say like infinite, I believe, or 0.
Yeah.
You can say infinite, or you can also say
-1.
0 or infinite.
And if you say 0, it just means just figure out the one you're missing from before or something like that. Or you can just say infinite, just to go at it, try to get everything that you can. I mean, there's all these little neat. I think there's a lot of little neat, subtle nuances to how clever you can get with your words. I mean, none of that strategy that I can go in with, but in the moment, you can start. Okay, well, I gave them this clue and they missed it. I gave them this clue and they missed it. If I give them this clue, hopefully they'll catch on that I'm referring back to that clue that they missed before. There's a lot of neat things that you can do with that.
Yeah, I think it's not so much strategy, but having played it myself, I think it's interesting to see how the limitation of the one-word clue, right, the restriction, sort of generates a little bit of creativity on the part of the spy master when he's trying to think, okay, well, if they take the literal meaning of my clue, it would connect to this word, and then if maybe they look at the category of the thing it is, that might connect it over here to this other thing, and you can sort of, depending on 3 or 4 different, I can come up with a word that, when looked at from 3 or 4 different perspectives, can be interpreted 3 or 4 different ways, and all of those ways lead to words that I want them to pick. And so I hope that they do that, and and you're trying to sort of see all of the parallel or alternate interpretations that a word could take on when you give it as a clue, and then you give it as a clue, and they totally don't understand any of that and miss it, and go
It's
off.
better with time.
Tangent.
That's one of the cool things. The more you play this game, you get better at it because you understand the way your team is thinking. I like to play this game with consistent groups because, at least for the evening, because that way you're able to kind of build some momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you kind of build up a language for that session over time.
Yeah, and it's really short, right? Like it's
oh yeah,
can be.
I mean, one round,
20 minutes maybe for one round, I would say.
One round, and when I played it, it's usually I think what we do is it's short enough that everybody gets a chance to be on the spy master side of the table, if you want to do it that way.
That's generally how we do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So, it's also like we mentioned, I mean, it's super low weight. I think it's also got to easily be, in addition to the newest game, it's got to be the lowest weight game we've considered, right? I mean,
oh yeah, I mean it's a party game, so
yeah. Okay, so all right, well then let's go ahead and we'll talk about just briefly then what it does right and what it does wrong. Let's start with what it does well. Greg, what does it do well?
So party games, the category party games. That's probably, you can imagine, not my favorite genre of game.
Give me some other examples of party games so people understand.
Wits and Wagers.
Wits and Wagers is a big one. I mean, that's a really popular one. Apples to Apples. It's everywhere. But even like games that, like, was it a password? Well, not password, but taboo, gestures. Categories. With charades. I mean, that's a party game at the end of the day.
Right.
There's tons of these out there. But they have a wide range, and I really don't like the ones that just be goofy. That's what they want you to do. Those kind of party games I pretty much deplore. But there's other party games that are, especially some of these more modern ones that are coming out, that you can still have a good time, but it's not about you just getting up and acting like a fool. But it involves still some thinkiness to it. And I Codenames, I feel it is a party game for sure, but I almost feel like it's on the edge of what I would consider a party game, because there's just enough like puzzliness and thinkiness in this game that it's not, to me, 100% solid in the center of a party game that I think normally people would think of. It's a party game in the sense that, yes, it's lightweight and it plays many people. I think the box says up to 8, but you can go above that easily because it's just 2 teams, right? You can have multiple people, more than that if you want. So yeah, that's why I like Codenames. For me, Codenames works because, yes, it's a party game. It's a game I can pull out when I got many people over who are kind of in the mood for something light and just laughing. And on top of it, it's a small box, so I don't need some giant party game taking up shelf space. It's easy one for me to use. So, yeah. I like it. As far as parties games go, this is one of my favorites.
Right. Okay. Good. Eric, what about you? What do you think it does well?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of party games either. Same reasons, but I do have some, and I think that party games they typically fall into categories, for me anyway, the ones that well, I don't know, just for me, but I like to have party games, a smattering of party games that I can pull out for whatever group I'm with. So this is the word style party game. And not everybody likes word style party games. Sometimes people like more visual style party games. And for that, I would go with Telestrations. I think that's a really, really fun drawing style party game. And then you've got other types too that are more storytelling, like Deception, Murder, Hong Kong, or things like that. That are, I still consider that a party game, but it's more storytelling. So you've got words, pictures, and storytelling. This is my choice for the word party game that I'm going to keep around for a long time, because it is just very, very fun. Can handle a ton of different people. Is interesting enough to keep me, a person who doesn't particularly like party games, engaged with it. And it's got some nice, like, you could use it as a team building thing, if you're at a company um, company gathering, or it has different challenges for each side that you're on, and I think that asymmetrical nature is really cool.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'll. This is one of the few games too that I own and that I am familiar enough with to give some kind of commentary on it. And I would say that exactly the same reason I keep it around, because of the niche that it fills. Right? It's super fast, easily scalable, very quickly teachable, and a little bit more interesting than some of the other options. And so, it's a great thing to just keep on the shelf, to have around if you have a group and you don't know what you want to have something to do. Let's talk about though about what you think it does not do well. Eric, what does Codenames not do well?
So first, like I think this is a common feature of word-based games. There is a problem with what words are legal, and for a party game, that can get a little rulesy, depending on the group. We all have some friends that they're all about the rules. They're rules lawyers, and so this type of game isn't good for them, because we played it one time, and I think somebody, one of the words that she wanted us to guess was pirate, and I think another one was like vehicle or something like that. And so her clue was car, and she made this like arg, like a pirate sound, which technically isn't legal, because I don't know why, but the
sound effect
rules. Yeah, and it's like, come on, So if somebody wanted to fight that, they shouldn't be playing Codenames in the first place. But if somebody wanted to fight it, technically it's not legal, and there's pages and pages of rules in the rule book about what's legal and what you can, like. And of course at the end they're like, well, but do whatever. But still, the rules were printed, and it's kind of weird. So there's that. But then I think that the other thing that could be considered bad about it is that it's a little, for a party game, it's a little conversation stifling, because as the spy master, I'm sitting there going, okay, all right, give me 10 minutes. I got to come up with a good, and I'm out. I'm, not going to be part of the conversation, part of the fun, while I'm thinking about. I think there's a timer for that, or I don't know how they get around that, but it's not. It can stop conversation as opposed to promote it, which is weird.
Yeah, and even that timer is a little weird, because like
someone's forget to flip
basically,
it.
No, it's not you forget to flip it. It's because you're not supposed to flip it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do it. The only reason the timer exists is like if someone just decides, oh, he's taking too long, I'm going to put this timer in front of you. Which,
Yeah.
if you're really playing seriously and strategically, you would of course put it there as soon as they begin thinking. But it's meant to be like, hey, you need to hurry up. So even that's a little rules wonky.
Yeah.
if you have someone that really cares about the rules,
Right.
you know, I can give a shout out to Jathan. Jathan wants to shout out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
get on
The ultimate rule.
Ultimate
Jathan should
rules lawyer?
not play this game.
Jathan
I'm
should
sure
not
he
play this.
has, but like, no, he's.
Yeah.
me
Well,
the
he
rule book.
combined his penchant for rules lawyering with his limited vocabulary.
I want to see Jathan. I want to see Jathan and David play this game.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'd love to see that because they're both rules lawyers.
That'd be the first blood spilled in a Codenames game ever.
Yeah, full contact code names. All right, Greg, what about you? What do you think that Codenames does not do well?
Yeah, actually, I think I line up with Eric's negatives there pretty much. Yeah, there's some iffiness sometimes about what words apply, so you kind of have to go in just knowing you got to brush some stuff off. Are proper names allowed? Is New York City allowed? That's 3 words. I mean, the rules do kind of explain some of it, and I think if you really read it exactly, it's pretty clear. But it's just a lot of exceptions and stuff for a party game. That's not a big deal if you're with a bunch of people who are just like let things go. And I also agree, yeah, with the reason why I call this on the edge of a party game. It's kind of one of the positives for me, but it's also can be a negative. Is that, yeah, it's true. When the spy master in the beginning, you got those 25 words. It takes them a while on the first turn to parse all that. So there's always that like 5 or 10 minutes where the spy masters are just like thinking, which is that head, your head in your hands pose is not what you normally associate with a party game, right? So you have to go in knowing that, yes, it is probably a little more puzzly and cerebral than a lot of party games, but that also, the downside to that is it may not always feel party-ish. So, but yeah, that's there. And the one other thing I would tack on to that, and this just might be with my groups, is I do play a lot of these games with people whose English is not their first language. So obviously a word game is not always the greatest for that. So Codenames does not work always in groups, not just with language barrier, because the words are simple enough you can get around it, but because like a lot of party games, there's a lot of cultural references that need to be understood for some clues.
Right.
So like if you have groups of people that are kind of from different cultures, sometimes it just doesn't mix properly all the time.
They're not gonna guess the movie you're referring to.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just one other gotcha to think about. It's not necessarily a negative, but just something to think about.
And there is a pictures version, I believe.
There is a pictures one, which I
played that.
I own the pictures one actually. It's down there. I bought it for that specific reason, and maybe we can get into it if we ever get to the pictures review. But it helps. But man, it is so much more information to parse.
Right.
The pictures take forever for a spy master to figure out what to say because there's a picture's worth 1,000 words. So they do shorten the grid a little bit to make it easier. I think it's like 20 cards instead of 25. But if that's true, a picture's worth 1,000 words. That's still 20,000 words you're parsing.
Yeah, and from what I remember, the pictures are not trivial. The pictures are like weird combinations.
They're like
of things that
line drawing Dixit pictures. If you can imagine that, there's very surreal, like very abstract. They take multiple things and kind of put it together in some artsy way, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to process in that. So I feel the AP just gets quadrupled in Codename pictures.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, final thoughts on Codenames. Would you recommend it? How do you feel about it? Anything else that you want to say about Codenames you have not yet said? Greg.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's one of my favorite party games for my personal taste in games. It's not roll on the floor, laugh out funny like some party games. So if that's party games, if that's what you're looking for, maybe go elsewhere. But it's engaging enough and it works in big enough groups. Rules are simple enough that I just feel it crosses off the boxes for me and what I look for in a party game. I do agree with Eric. If I was looking for something, I don't laugh as much as I do in a game of illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've cried laughing in that game before. Codenames is not quite that. I mean, there's discussion going on. There's laughter when someone picks the assassin card by accident, or like, why didn't you go the way I thought you were going to go? But yeah, But for me, it's at that level where if I'm going to dip my toes into a party game, this is one that I'm willing to pull out. So I give it like a 7 actually, because it works so well in so many different groups that I pull it out often. You know, there's a lot of times where people are over, I'm like, you know what, Codenames would work well here. So I do pull it out rather often.
Okay, cool. Eric, what about you?
Yeah, same. I would definitely recommend it. It fills that word game, party game kind of niche, but it's quieter. If you want a shouty version of word game, you should play Taboo or something along those lines. But this is much more thinky, and that suits my style. So if you're into thinky word-based party games, this is definitely belongs on your shelf.
Okay, all right, very good. Yeah, in a lot of ways, I feel like this game is sort of, maybe it's just because it's a party game, this feels to me sort of like the most, in spirit, feels like the biggest outlier from the things we've done so far. It feels like, I don't know, it's
Yeah,
got a very different vibe to it.
I think that's just because it's our first party game. I mean,
Yeah.
wait till we get to our first dexterity game. That's going to be
Yeah.
a complete outlier.
Sure.
I think of party games as almost their own category within the
Right.
board game genre. I mean, like war games are another category.
Yeah.
Party games, dexterity games are their own category. So yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, well, so like Greg said, if you're one of the 3 people in the world who has not played Codenames yet, you should give it a try. Got a lot of versatility to it, and it is a lot of fun. Scales up easily, and good group party game that got a little bit more to sink your teeth into. So give that a try. That is going to go on our 10 game shelf, I believe, as game number 8. So what are we going to be looking at next?
So we're going to jump back into the medium heavy games. I think Puerto Rico is next. So
Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico was like number 1 for a long time, wasn't it? Or
on Board
Really
Game
long
Geek,
time.
if you go by like ranking of
Mhm.
ratings, yes, that was
Yeah.
number 1 for a while.
Yeah. So Puerto Rico is very popular. So all right, so next time we'll be taking a look at that. And until then, thanks for watching. This has been a piece of the action.
I think court martial. That's I always get this one confused. This isn't the one where Pike goes back to.
No, that's the Menagerie.
No. But oh yeah, that's right. Because they did court martial. That did have a court martial thing in it. Right?
That was Spock was being on trial. But I think isn't the court martial one the one where
this was Kirk? Kirk gets
Kirk
court
was
martialed.
on trial, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
I think he beat. I don't know. This is vague recollection, but I believe he beat the computer multiple times at chess. That's my guess.
I think that's the answer too.
It could be anything like he reinverted the tachyon particle emitter or something.
Sure.
I'm gonna go with that one though, chess.
What do you think, Micah?
I think that white noise thing is weird. I think he reconstructed the memory banks, the D.
Using badger skins and flint.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good reference. Good cut. Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't that exact thing, but
Stone tools and
yes, something like that.
It was some kind of skins, wasn't it? I think he said
Yes,
skins.
it was something like that.
right.
City on the Edge of Forever. Okay. I think I'm going to go with Greg on this one because that does ring a bell that he beat the computer at chess repeatedly. And Greg has a pretty good track record with these so far. So I'll go with B, and then we'll see what happens. B is correct. He beat the computer at chess repeatedly.
All right.
So there you go.
I
seem to recall that. Yeah, he.
Well, it just makes good sense. I mean, that's just like forensic data science 101, right? If you're trying to research,
you play the chess.
You play chess against the computer and see if it beats you or not,
Yeah.
and so.
This man could not have killed anyone. I beat him at chess multiple times.
I mean, not him, but his computer.
His computer.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Exactly.